Hey everybody, it's Al. It's Final Words. This is the end of the Lily. Is this sixth season? 2012, 2017.
Yeah.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 6 seasons of ModPo. Is there a MOOC? At least is there a Coursera, edX, mainstream X MOOC? Chris, can you bring me a little down in the room? Is there one that's survived 6 years? Is there an open-ended one that survived 6? No. We are it. ModPo proud. Some shout-outs before we just go to final words. We have some people here who've joined us. We have some people in the Hangouts. There are going to be some people. Maria's here. There's going to be some people, some TAs dropping in, like Allie at exactly 11, so we want to bring her in when she can. But I'll get to that in a second. First of all, a shout out to Chris and Zach. They're gonna get. I mean, Chris won't do it, but I'm gonna give him a chance, and Zach, of course, to do a final word because they, you know, I don't want to speak for them, but I think they enjoy certain parts of this. I think you enjoy certain parts of it. Anyway, they're amazing. So if you're out there, Maria, come and sit in one of the, if you're out there in ModPo Webcast watching land, and I'm going to bet that T is watching from Manila. I'm going to bet, right? I'm going to bet, though. What time is it? It's midnight. Yeah. So, there's already a call. Oh, I'm so far behind already. Okay, so thank you a shout out to Chris and Zach. A shout out to Erica, Max, and Jake, and particularly Erica for their creation and development of the Teacher Resource Center. And I don't think there's another thing like it out there either. And Erica and I have particularly, but I think all of us are on board with this. We have particular plans to develop it further. I can't wait to do that, and I hope those of you who are ModPo first-timers or ModPo Plusers will, you'll never run out of ModPo Plus, but once you start to run out, take a look at TRC. Thank you, Erica, in particular. A shout-out to Ron Silliman, Erica Baum, Tracy Morris, Nick Montfort, and Julia Block. All of them stopped by sometime this session in the past 10 weeks to join us. We love them all. They're great, and Tracy and Nick spent a day each in the forums, which was so great. Just a shout out to the meetups people, Mandana for convening so brilliantly in New York City, Max, Matt Corey, and others in Chicago, Molly in Los Angeles, Joe, Pioneer Valley gang, and the London gang, Jeremy Dixon, particularly Sharon Wells, Val Moulton, and our hosts. That was so great. And the DC crew, led by Anthony Kolosny, who's here, who's going to get a chance to do a final word today, who always comes to final words from DC, and others. The kind of an amazing Karen, Ray Maxwell when he can. And the Texas Study Group, which is a virtual group, but boy, are they wild. In fact, most of the people in the group are not Texans, but they just, everybody's sort of I've never actually felt like an honorary Texan. I mean, it's just such a complicated concept for me. But I love it when I go to the Texas Study Group. And finally, a shout out to Mama Pope, to Joyce, who came all the way from the Sacramento area and spent a better part of a week here and cooked, and we got as much from you as I think you got from us, so thank you, Mama Pope. Okay, so I have other shout-outs that will go along the way, but I just want to say hello to TAs, and then we're going to start final words in no particular order. Jason, good morning. Hello, Jason. Joe, good morning. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, great. And I think Molly's computer is working. Hey, Molly. Yay. Hi from L.A. It's early there, I realize. Erica Kaufman in the Hudson Valley. Hello.
Hi, Al.
Hi. Are you done with your sleep deprivation jet lag thing by now? You're good?
Yeah, I'm perfect.
I'm still off from London. I don't know what's wrong with me. Gabe. Good morning. Always a pleasure to see you.
Oh,
You have a final word that I know this is going to be a good one. I can't wait for it.
So.
Lily Applebaum. Hello. And Lily's checking Twitter and also the threads. We have a thread post here before, during, and after final words. We're going to be looking at that. Davey, hi.
Hey, Al.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Al?
Good. Oh, great. And Allison B.
Hi, Al.
who's a champ. Allison came from Sacramento or near Sacramento for this. This is amazing. You get the prize, and prize is not a metaphor. I have a prize.
Oh my goodness.
For the distance.
Oh my
Ready?
goodness.
Okay, so your prize is. Drum roll. This is a relatively new and selected Ray Armantrout. It's called Partly. She only has one-word titles for everything. Partly, 2001, 2015. Allison.
Thank you
You're
so
gonna be
much, Al.
You're welcome. You're going to be among those that I shout out among the CTAs, the community TAs. You're so present. Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
is for you.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, you're going to get a final word, too. And we have some visitors, some loyalists here. Maria is here. I hope you'll be willing to do a final word. And as mentioned, Anthony is here. And Eric is here. And Kelly Lou, who is holding the portable mic, but is actually a ModPoer and might actually be on the spot for a final word. And Anna Strong Safford is here with a little bit of a tan. How did that happen? And I am so thrilled to meet this person who comes up to me and looks like Davey. You know, Davey doesn't look like you. You look like Davey because my experience is Davey first and Charles second. So, Charles, thank you. Okay, so we're going to do final words, and then I'm going to intersperse. Yes, right? I'm going to intersperse. There's a certain thing that Davey does. It's this that I saw Charles do immediately.
And the smile.
It's genetic.
It partly says, yes, you're right, I'm deeply affected by what you said. And it's also partly like, I haven't heard a thing that you've said, but I'm a nice person. Right?
More the former than the latter.
Okay, well, that's true. Okay, great.
Final
All
words,
right.
not a roast.
So interspersed among the final words will be some phone calls and also some final words that have been posted to the forum, to the final word forum. So why don't we go to the phone call, and then we'll go to Gabe. So who's on?
We've got our pal from Texas, Philip Drexler.
Philip Drexler. Okay, let's
Coming in
bring
with the final
Philip
word.
up. Hello, Philip. How are you?
I'm good, Al. How are you?
Great. You have a final word for us? After, I don't know how many years you've been with us? 3, 4, 5, 6?
I missed the first one, Al, but I've been here ever since.
Great.
So, Al, I was listening to all those great review videos last night. That's just a wonderful idea. Thank you, Al. And,
I think you're referring to the overview videos that I linked to my most recent message. Yeah.
Yes, sir. They were wonderful.
Great.
And so the word that kept coming into my head as I watched them was enfranchisement. And I really think that ModPo is an enfranchising forum for open ideas and communication. And so I was thinking about that, and I went home and I turned on the TV, and there was a documentary about the Greeks. And sure enough, democracy was founded after Homeric poetry took root in Greece. And then after democracy was founded, then the forum came into existence and poetry and all the other arts began to flourish. So, you know, that's what ModPo is. It's a massive, open, online forum and community.
That's
and
beautiful.
Thank you very much, Mr. Al Filreis.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you for calling. And I can't wait to talk again with you soon and next year.
And absolutely,
Great.
sir.
Thank you.
Book club.
Have a
See you
great
next week. Yeah. Bye.
Have a great day. All right. Thank you, Philip. And we're going to go to Gabe for a final word. And he's got it written down. Lily, he's got it written down.
It's a change for me.
Start writing.
This is now my sixth final word in an Al Filreis chorus. Is like, so not only in ModPo, but 2 fellows, 2 88s, 2 ModPo years, right?
That's
so
great.
6 final word, and I finally wrote one down
wrote one
instead
down.
of improvising them
You've
all.
always been good. So.
Well, thank you. So I was just thinking about sort of like, I tend to think that ModPo final words run on certain themes, one of them being like, why do we do what we do? And so I was just thinking about that issue in regards to what Davey was saying 2 weeks ago.
You mean the now famous final thoughts
Yeah.
of Davey that have now been now our YouTube clip? And there's been a good, should I take that down? I assume you're okay with it, because it was fine. Like a platform speech in a way, like a declaration.
I feel good about it. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's this Bjork quote that says, there are certain emotions in your body that not even your best friend can sympathize with, but you will find the right film or the right book and it will understand you. Instead of thinking of it as the book understanding you, I prefer to think that the book can predict and say your shadowed feelings back at you. It feels very real for me that there are just certain feelings in my head that I do not discuss with my friends. In a moment where I feel increasingly the amping up of danger and risk and ending like a waterline at the chin, I feel less and less able to discuss it. I do not feel I have the ability to say, I am losing my mind to a friend. And so we come to ask ourselves, as we often have in ModPo, what is a book for? What does a book do to change unwavering brutality? It has always been my opinion that a book cannot do anything. I do not believe in an activist poetics as such. In a world with a death grip of policy, I am just not the kind of writer who writes because I think it can change the world. But instead, I think the book does something quieter. Instead, I think the book creates a climate in the mind where a question can be warmed or anxiety cooled or an apparatus bothered. So in the syllabus, what I see is an attempt by many to perform thinking on record. And I think there is something immensely valuable in that without the onus of changing the world. This is the only argument I can come up for to always continue writing. At times, the burden of what should my writing do will stomp you to the ground. But to let it be the writing and to preserve and continue the writing will let better questions arise. That's all.
Gabriel, Ojeda Segay, thank you so much. Thanks you for your amazing work with this project. Okay, so we are going to go to Erica Kaufman in the Hangout. Sorry, I didn't warn you of that. And then, Kelly, we're going to give the mic to Eric. And in between Erica and Eric, I'm going to quote somebody from the thread. So, Erica Kaufman, by the way, thank you. We love you so much. And we had you here once this 10 weeks. Everything's blurring. No, you haven't visited yet. Boo. Look at that face. Okay, well, soon.
But I'll come in February.
Right, you're all set for that. And we're going to do some ModPo video recordings and stuff like that.
I'm really looking forward to that. It's been a tough fall, but I continue to think about how ModPo is really like kind of what gets me through my fall. And for my final words, I wanted to start off with 2 shout outs. One is to Terry and the Texas Study Group, who have been really bringing some fabulous conversations to my office hour. And the other is to Barbara Regenspan. And she just sent me her book, which I began to read. And it's called Haunting in the Educational Imagination. And it's amazing. And I feel really grateful that ModPo has led me to be able to have exciting conversations about contemporary poetry with people all over the place. And for my final words, I've been thinking a lot about last week's conversation around kind of politics and the politics of a syllabus. And what struck me this year is how much me to really think about, what it means to have a sense of a poetics. And also really to flesh out the relationship between a poetics and a pedagogy. And I've been thinking a lot about poetics as coming out of poesis, so to make something out of language. And what does it mean to make something out of language in the context of a classroom?
That's great.
So I feel really grateful to have the chance to think about all of these things with so many people.
Erica Kaufman, everybody. Thank you, Erica. We do love you so much. Thank you. So we're going to go to Eric next, but before that, I'm going to quote Kristin Hunt from the Final Words thread. Kristin writes, "Every week touched me deeply. This will sound so dramatic, but I feel that the work of ModPo, the work of the poet, the work of us as readers, all of us together, is doing something fundamental for social progress, not just documenting the social undercurrents, but actually developing them and symbolizing them. For the work of the modern poet in each of their respective eras express the mindsets and the radical newness and the flavor of genius those times and its current world environment produce. This course feels like a way to see how much new consideration we can take on. It's heartening to experience. For anyone disheartened by the chaos of the world, this is a place where understanding and rekindling can be found. And she signed off this way: standing always at the base of my own personal Vesuvius. That's Kristin Hunt. So thank you, Kristin. And it's time for Eric Weinstein. Eric, thank you for everything that you do. You're a CTA of long standing. You run your own MOOC. You convene your own conversations, and you're always there. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, Al, because there's an incredible amount of great stuff I get to do, which if I hadn't worked with you, I wouldn't be doing.
So my spreading, as
yes.
Gertrude says.
So my final words come from Fanny Steloff, who ran the Gotham Book Mart. And
she is the late Fanny, and
yes.
it, alas, is the late bookstore.
So it's the late bookstore, but if you wanted to find much of what was there, where would you come?
To Van Pelt's 6th floor library.
That's right. We have.
It's all there.
We have 220,000 items that we are collecting, and we are building as part of a bigger project called Revisions and Reckonings. An amazing year of programming around the Gotham Book Mart. And that will intertwine with our programming around 1968, the 1968 seminar series, 1968 Now. It will wind around a 3-year seminar block we're doing on the beats in the Black Arts movement, which will be of very great interest to people here at ModPo. Wise men fish here. That was the sign that they had. It was a great sign.
In front of the bookstore.
That's right. And people from all over New York in the middle of the 20th century convened themselves at the Gotham Book Mart. It was a place where people came for readings, they came for talks, for political activism, and they came to shop, and they came to meet their friends because it was fun to go to bookstores and buy books, and people would meet each other and form relationships. And you could go and talk to a customer on your left who might have been Andy Warhol, who will also be part of Revisions and Reckonings here at UPenn. You could go and talk to your book clerks, who might have been Leroy Jones, who became Amiri Baraka, and Allen Ginsberg, who was a book clerk who worked at the same time. But the point was that it was a place to meet, and it was a place to be. And the Gotham Book Mart would not have been that wonderful place if it were not for people who loved and appreciated the avant-garde, the possible, and community in New York. ModPo, I think, is a living embodiment in virtual land of the Gotham Book Mart. It brings people together to do all kinds of stuff. More and more, this is one of the richest environments in the arts anywhere in the world to participate in, and it links into every other resource we have here at Penn. And over the next few years, we're going to be building up those resources in all kinds of ways. You over on the ModPo side, me doing my crazy thing with the Unbinding Prometheus project and filming hundreds of hours of seminar material on what was going on in the middle of the 20th century. All you have to do is build your community, find your community. If you want a physical space, get together with your friends and find the physical space, because it's all about meeting there. If you have a place called Politics and Prose in Washington, D.C., it would have been a good bookstore. But Anthony and his friends getting together make it a wise place to go fishing. Thank you for fishing here.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it so much. All right, so we're going to go to Joe Massey next, and then to Charles Niddle, and between the two, Charles is just giving me the Niddle face. There is a Niddle face we're discovering. Anyway, so poor Charles. Davey's not embarrassed. It's right. I feel like I'm looking in stereo here. This is crazy. Joe and then Charles, and in between, I have, I'm going to quote somebody's final words, but somebody just joined us. Yes, can you tell us who you are?
Yes.
You just tell us your name and I'll write you down.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I just came here. My name is Demetrius Galanis. I came from Greece, and I went for a few days in New York. I lived for just a few days in New York, and it was a great opportunity to come here this day.
That's great.
And
you're
yes.
part of ModPo.
Yes, I'm part of ModPo.
Yeah.
For 2 years or so.
That's great.
And,
well, would you like to have a final word in a little while when you get yourself all unpacked?
Of course.
Fantastic.
Why not? Why not? Okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That you got the record. I'm taking your book away because he came from Greece. Okay, so Joe, then there's some final words, the phone call, and then Charles. Joe Massey. Hey, Joe. Thank you. You were fantastic. You were a fantastic community member. And TA, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll keep my words brief, but this was my first year as a TA, and so I had a bit of a behind-the-scenes look. And I can't just name one person because it's such a community effort. But I was so impressed by how hard the CTAs and mentors work to keep things rolling in ModPo. And a particular shout out when I had my meetup here in East Hampton, Meredith Lederer and her 15-year-old son Michael came, and we did a close reading of Skylar's Salute. And at the end of the close reading, her 15-year-old son chimed in because he had been counting the syllables in the poem, and he kind of cleared up something we were discussing. But it was an amazing moment. And even more amazing, Meredith said that she has convened collaborative close readings with Michael and his teenage friends, and not as a punishment either. And they seem to have enjoyed it. And it's just goes to illustrate how effectively ModPo brings people to poetry, brings them into poetry, and a particularly generative, to quote Gabe, climate of mind that communal making and unmaking of meaning creates. And it's a beautiful place, ModPo. I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you.
Joe Massey, everybody. Yay, Joe. And I'm going to embarrass Joe by saying, each year, sometime in January, I contact the TAs, all the TAs, and say, will you re-up? Will you sign up again? And then at a certain point, we announce on Facebook, so-and-so, Emily Arnett has signed up again, and everybody likes it. I am going to announce the first recontract, and that is TA, ModPo 2018, Joseph Massey. Yeah. Yay, Joe. And not only that, but we've arranged for Joe to visit again in the fall, and he's going to do a reading, I think. We've got a whole thing planned. So, Joe, thank you. That's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to do a quick shout out. We're going to go to the phone, then we're going to go to Charles. So let me just pick. There's so many good ones. I only have a few that I can read. Maybe two. Kim in Barcelona. Remember Kim, KYMM from last year? She's a little less active this year, but she says, I carry this community with me. I carry it in my heart. I am never without ModPo. Anywhere I go, ModPo goes. Dear Al, and whatever is done by only me is your doing, darling ModPo. That's Kim from Barcelona. Jeremy Dixon, who writes this morning, tweets, final words, missing the final words webcast due to emergency dog walking request. Have a blast. Thanks for another amazing year. We'll see you all on the recording. But as a matter of fact, Jeremy posted to the final words thread and said in part, as usual, ModPo has been a highlight of my year, and I'm still buzzing from meeting everyone in London. The thought, and of course, let me just say that Jeremy, traveled in from Wales for that, so it was a real effort on his part. The thought that I am now archived in some of the ModPo Plus video discussions is simply other dimensional. So our favorite platinum blonde Welsh person, Jeremy Dixon. Okay, let's go to the... That's funny. It was so much fun hanging out for days with Jeremy. Really so much fun. Yeah. Okay, so who's on the phone? And then we'll go to Charles. Kelly, you can give Charles the mic.
We've got our pal Jim calling from Red Bank.
Jim, okay,
Yeah.
great. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Al, how you doing?
I'm great. It's good to hear you.
Yeah, well, this semester turned out not to be all that great. I'm too busy at work and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you know what? We're in this for the long term.
This is not my final words or final thoughts. This is continuing words.
Good, great.
And some of the stuff has been echoed already, but this goes back to a little clip watching Kenny Goldsmith, where someone said to him or asked the question, "I don't understand your poetry," and his answer was, I thought, a little shy of the mark. He basically, I think, said it's a matter of reading comprehension, and my stuff is more comprehensible than others.
Yeah.
And I thought that was wrong. I mean, poetry is a social interaction. It can go across time for writers who have been dead for centuries, or it can go to Heat Wake or Oil and Candle, 2 books I discovered last year, which I enjoyed. So
Gabe's turning red. Let the record show.
Yes. So the point is that poetry is made in communities, and it's exchanged in communities. It's a social interaction. It's not just a matter of reading something off a page to get information. And for someone like me, who took my last poetry course in the 1970s, it's been through books that I've interacted with the community. But this is a wonderful way now to interact with everybody at Kelly's Writer House and all the people who are connected to it. Now, I've been writing networking software for over 30 years. I mean, I started at Bell Labs in the early 80s, and I've been very discouraged at what I've seen with the Internet and the sort of stuff that we've discovered lately about Facebook, which we've all known for years,
right?
Those of us who are in the business. And ModPo sort of makes me feel proud of whatever little small contribution I made to bringing people together through the networks.
Yeah.
So ModPo is personally important because it makes me feel good about what I do for a living, and it also connects me to a living world of poetry.
Yeah.
As opposed to just pulling stuff off of a shelf or ordering stuff from Amazon.
Yeah. Wow, Jim. That's
that's
great.
Answer,
yeah, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the answer to Dana Gioia. People's connection to poetry is through school, and then they graduate, and whatever they learned in school, they expect to see that thrown back at them. But it's just a dynamic process. And unless you're part of a community like the Gotham Book Mart or the 8th Street Bookstore, or some bohemian enclave, or maybe Homeric poems around a fireplace, I don't know how they read them, but you have to be part of a community to move with poetry. And this gives us, as civilians scattered throughout the world, a chance to connect to that world, and it's very valuable.
Jim, I'm so glad we record these, because what you just said, I'm going to play over and over again. I mean, either you've drunk the ModPo Kool-Aid, or, and I don't think that's true because I know you to be a very independent thinker, or you've harmonized and converged with what we've been trying to do here for 6 years, which is to find a little bright spot on the internet as opposed to all the darkness. And you're in the inside of that particular whale, to mix the metaphor. So anyway, Anna has been doing this for 6 years, and she's usually not moved to eye-welling, teary. Okay, never mind, Jim. What you just did to Anna is not unusual, but she was very moved by what you said.
Still moving, Jim.
Thank you so much, Jim, and I hope you'll make the trip over from the coastal Jersey and see us again in Philly.
Yes, and I will be there for Bernadette Mayer.
Great, so fantastic. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you. Wow.
Take care.
I really like that. Thank you so much. Okay, Charles, you're going to have to follow that. Charles Niddle, everybody. Yay! Charles, I know you've done 1,000 good things in your life, but we can confirm one really good thing that you did. And he's sitting to my left.
Thank you, Al, and thank you, Davey, for getting me here. That was, I keep saying, very, very generous. I have 3 things to say. I will try and get to them pretty efficiently. First, just to revisit a comment I put in the discussion forums at the beginning of the year, when I spoke about adding poetry to my conversation in life. I did not want to become an expert or be able to quote or recite so much as I've spent my life working in words, and here was a door I had just never opened before, and I wanted the chance to do that, and thank you for that. That's been done. The second point is, and I know I've heard in some of the webcasts, some testimonials from people in crisis who've been able to find a grounding, a clarity, a steadying influence here in these discussions. My crisis has not been quite that dramatic, but I am completing my first year of not working, a thing that I did not entirely voluntarily, and having the ModPo rituals, being able to easily adapt to the syllabus and the live sessions and the comments and the meetups, and being able to add things as I went through the weeks has been a very reviving thing for me to enrich my life in ways that it needed enriching. Third, Al, did you want to speak? Okay.
Of course I do, but I want to hear you.
Well, third is I'm going to try this again. What I tried outside in thanking Al for his leadership, as with an observation on the role of the maestro, a role that I'm somewhat familiar with myself in my work, and it's like you have to always be ready to be called upon. You have to speak before you're called upon. There's no desk in a chair in the back corner available for you. And I salute you, Al, because you're a great maestro. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Charles Niddle, everybody. So Charles, Amber was, calm down a little bit. So Charles, yeah, that's him. So Charles tried that out on me before we started, said, thanked me for my leadership and my energy. So I addressed the second quality first, which is, not a talent, but genetics. And that certainly has helped. Can you get by on no sleep? The second thing is leadership. I am very good at deflecting such praise, and I deflected it to create a triangle, a nice triangulation. I deflected it immediately to say that I see in Davey whatever leadership you and maestroism that you thought I have, I see in Davey's future, and I'm so glad that Davey is among the people who is learning not just the literary chops and not just how to hone his amazing intellect here at the university, but to hang around Writer's House and watch how many people are good at coordinating things and how crucial it is to be good at doing that. And sometimes we've had visits of very eminent people here to Penn, and because it's not well coordinated, a great moment that could have been had didn't get had because we just didn't know how to kind of spread the responsibility. And so ModPo is a great example of that, and also of passing on that talent, and obviously not just to Davey. So thank you, Charles Niddle. Amazing. Okay, so we have, Molly's been kind of having some computer problems, so I want to go to Molly next. Molly, I hope that's okay. And then we'll go to Amber Rose, and in between, I'll quote somebody from the Final Words thread. So, hi, Moll. How's the computer?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's great. Yep.
Sorry, I'm on mobile. I wanted to apologize for not being around as consistently this year. It's been, the way has been really resonating with me. I feel like there's been a lot of flubbing behind the scenes and real life emergencies over here.
Sorry to hear that.
But to that end, ModPo has been the clearing. It's been the gasp. And every time I get to come back to this, I feel really held. And especially with the meetups that I was able to convene this year, the real life community and the real life, collaborative creation of meaning and of honing understanding is such a reward. And even if we can only experience a couple of hours of that in any given cycle of ModPo, I think it makes the whole endeavor worthwhile. So thank you, guys. That's all.
Thank you, Molly ONeil. 6 years ago, Molly, we sat down not knowing what we were going to do, and it was, and we still don't know what we're doing, but it was fun. It's been fun, and it's just great to form. Well, we were already friends, but to form a friendship of long standing, and to see you earlier this fall. So I'm going to turn to Amber Rose, and then we'll go to Allison next, who you have your prize with you, right? You didn't give it. No, Demetrius will get his prize. Don't worry. Okay. So before Amber Rose, Magnus, Kristy, Williamson. Magnus, some of you have seen Magnus's amazing posts. Usually Magnus is just out there doing his thing and posting everywhere. This was Magnus's first season that he's been able to stay to the end. He's been part of ModPo before. Magnus had, quote, studiously avoided studying literature in the academic environment, and like a lot of people who didn't do well with poetry in academia came to ModPo. I'm so glad to have found this space. I've met amazing people I didn't know existed. Patrick Rosal, Caroline Bergfall spring to mind, but there are really too many to mention. Most of all, though, the core videos, the ones I was just referring to in my response to Molly, the ones we made 6 years ago, the core videos have an almost mystical quality. I feel like I know them all. And that's what happens when people read poems together. Yes, we learn about poems, about poets, about poetry. Most important, though, we learn about ourselves and each other. So that's Magnus. So thank you, Magnus. Amber Rose, you contested a ticket. Was it successful?
Absolutely not. It was a total waste of my time.
Oh, no.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, there's an old
Several
phrase,
tickets.
probably was invented in Philly. It says, you can't fight City Hall.
Yeah, that was proven true to me today after
Is there
waiting
film
for
of that?
2 hours. They audio recorded the hearing in which the man said, I don't care.
Did he? Is that a quote?
Yeah, I was like, I'm a graduate student. I don't even have the car anymore. I haven't
They're gonna
driven in
take away my
10 months.
tax
And he was like,
deductions.
I don't care. Please play the city $700. Okay, but that's also bad on me.
700.
Okay, this is getting too
Wait,
personal.
I'm passing the cup. 700. Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh my
Please
God.
please send funds.
Oh my God.
to pay my
Wow. Oh my gosh. Well, you're going to use
so
up
I'm sorry I'm late.
a lot of your TA earnings on the.
All right, let's talk about budgeting.
Okay, let's be happy. All right. Anyway, Amber Rose, surely, forgive the phrase, it's a baseball phrase, surely one of the rookies of the year, Amber Rose Johnson, right? Playing third base, owing $700 to the league.
That's so bad.
Your final word?
My final word. I kind of feel, I wish I could hear everybody's final words first and then give my final word. But I guess I haven't earned that spot yet. My final word. Yeah, I'm really grateful to have joined this community. Davey told me about ModPo last year, and he was like, you should do ModPo. And it was this kind of fantastical, magical thing that I didn't really know anything about. And then I learned a little more about it, and I was suddenly like, oh, that sounds terrible. I don't want to participate in this.
What sounded terrible?
That I was going to read
having like
these
the close-ups
poems.
on your eyeglasses?
Yeah, first of all, Zach's close-ups, number one. But
Get closer, Zach. Oh, no. Oh.
So that was number one. Number two was this idea of that we weren't going to be talking about the poems before we recorded the webcast.
Right. Wow.
Because
Improv.
this is a kind of collection of poems. I came because I needed to learn more about modern poetry. And so I was a little bit nervous about that. But once being here, I was so comforted and reassured and happy to find that it is organic, and that's part of what makes it so powerful. That we can all come with questions, that we all talk about these poems kind of in our walking through the writer's house. I've been able to talk to Lily, I've been able to talk to different folks about feeling nervous about a particular recording because I didn't have a good grasp on the poems, and always being not just supported, but encouraged and like cheered on as I'm trying to work on the poems, and then being in a position where I can then do that with other folks. So that's been great. I've been really happy to be manning the Facebook questions. So shout out to all the Facebook users who've been keeping me company. Yeah, so thank you. I'm grateful. I've learned a ton. I'm really, really looking forward to doing this again next year.
Amber Rose, really?
Oh, I just...
You know what? Lily and I are organizing a grad course. Maybe Amber Rose can kind of be adjunct to that. That would be really cool. Can we just do the deal right here?
Yeah, let's
do
it.
Everybody,
Sign
it goes.
the paper.
No, you can't
Oh, shaking the hand.
Amber Rose Johnson, everybody.
Woo!
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's really great.
I know.
Can you do the 5-year installment? Okay. Well, we have pizza for. You don't have to buy lunch. We've got pizza afterwards.
Oh, great.
Okay, good. So Allison, we're teeing up Allison for a final word, and then we've got someone on the phone. But since Allison's about to speak, I just want to shout out to some CTAs. They work so hard. I can't do all of them. I'm sure I missed some who've been very active this year, and I apologize in advance. T. de los Reyes, who's amazing, and I'm going to quote T a little later. Ray Maxwell, who's been storifying the tweets every week. Mandana, of course. Eric Weinstein has already talked. Thank you, Eric. Mary Armour from South Africa, who's always doing stuff while the rest of us are sleeping, which is kind of amazing. Mary Barnes, Jeremy Dixon, the aforementioned. Allison, who's about to speak. S.E. Sharon Ingram, who's in Western Canada, who's fantastic. Anthony Watkins from West Palm Beach, who's just so active. Holly York, who's a maybe retired French faculty member from Emory University, very distinguished person who's very active. Eleanor Smagorinsky from Australia. Terry Talty. Alana Shaw, who's amazing. Chris Foreman, who's in Los Angeles, is amazing. Nicholas Stern. Meredith Lederer, who went to Joe's meetup. MC Katniss, maybe the MVP? I mean, wow. MC from the Jersey Shore somewhere. Laura DiBernardi, who I think this was her first year as a CTA, fantastic. Kathy McCabe-D, another MVP for the American League. Magdalena Castani, who is in Europe, I believe in Greece. She's amazing. Terry Reif, mentioned already. Nathan Kaufman, Mary Hardwick. Lowell Murphy, who's been associated with ModPo since 2012, his first year, I believe, as a CTA. Julia Naslund, James Ritter from Los Angeles, Bill Spear from the middle of the country is amazing. Matt Corey in Chicago. And Sanjeev Naik, who in the middle of ModPo moved to India, kept it up, and has been managing the Facebook group really effectively. So thanks to all those and others. Allison.
That is quite the list to follow.
Pretty amazing people, yeah. So you get the prize. Other than Demetrius, who came further, you get the prize for coming a distance.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. So I am also a natural deflector, and so my final words comes from one of the posts that I saw come in earlier this morning from Margaret Vazansky, and she wrote, I'm not going to read the whole thing, just the first couple lines. Dear ModPo team, what do you think you are doing? What is wrong with you? Don't you follow the news? All sorts of scary things are happening in this world. There are urgent problems to be solved, and so on. And the last line says, right on, keep up the good work. And so to me, that sort of sums up the status quo breaking that ModPo brings to our world. And for me, it's one of the very important reasons why I stick around, and I will stick around forever.
Yay! Another contract.
And this year has been especially important to me because I always wanted to get into ModPo Plus, and little did I know that joining the Texas study group that I would be taken on a full-on whirlwind adventure into ModPo Plus. I have done ModPo Plus every week.
What's in the water in Texas? I don't understand.
I don't know, man.
They went nuts.
Harvey brought something, because I'm just saying, I was in that stuff. And anyway, I'm excited to be an honorary Texan. I'm excited to continue. I did my very first collaborative close reading video this session, so that was a big for me, something that I wanted to feel competent doing, and so it took me 5 years to feel like I could do that, and so that was something that, you know, for my own personal growth was important, and I also hate the close-ups on the camera, so I'm not going to look to the left.
You're in the middle of one right now.
I know.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So thank you, Al, and thank you, everybody.
Thank
and
you,
Anna,
Allison. You're the best.
She's relentless. We love her.
And, you know, I just have to say, Allison, many people know Allison for a while. She just showed up as Burkowski or whatever.
Burkowski, which is my family last name.
Yeah, that's fantastic, except it confused the hell out of us. Now you've switched to Allison, so we actually know who you are.
Al bothered me so long that I finally changed it.
Well, I always call you Allison, even though nobody... Anyway, I just want to say, as we're going to go to the phone call and then to Anthony... I just want to say that the community TAs do this voluntarily. They are the lifeblood of the thing, let's face it. I'm going to criticize Coursera only once in this Final Words webcast. I used to criticize them a lot, and now they're more in the background, and ModPo has kind of gone its own way, though we use their platform, and we are grateful for that. But, did I say that well enough?
Yeah.
We are grateful for the platform, because it's a pretty robust platform. But I just want to say that once the CTAs of ModPo started, and we were sort of the first to really use community TAs, and to recruit them and be involved with them and befriend them and work with them, then Coursera came up with this mentor thing where they actually have sort of a central training mechanism, and they would say, oh, you're teaching a MOOC, here are 15 random Coursera-trained mentors. No, these are our people. They're community TAs. They're our people, and they just sort of backed off. They love us, and they backed off, like, do your own thing. So we have like 50 or 60 CTAs, and they are amazing, and they're all volunteer, and they just, it wouldn't happen without them. They make it possible to do the peer reviews, for instance, for the essays. They are amazing, so thank you. Okay, we're going to go to the phone, then to Anthony. Anthony's over there.
I think she must have been listening because you said her name, and like maybe she'll call in. And the magical, mystical, like absolute MVP CTA, Tita Losreyes.
Whoa, how's that possible? It's late. All right, let's bring T up. Hi, T. T, are you there? Chris Martin doing his magic.
She was having some problems a moment ago.
Okay. Well, she'll call back.
Maybe she'll call back.
Okay.
Oh my God, I'm heartbroken.
All right, we'll go. No, you stay with it. T, if you can hear us, call back. Something's happening. No.
We lost her, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So
Well,
T, if you
call
can
back
hear
and
us,
I'll
if
do
you
my
can
whole
hear
thing
us,
again.
call back. We're going to go to Anthony first. Anthony, hi. Thank you for every week in DC. You convene a group. It's amazing. You've been doing it from the start. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a good time.
You're so
Can't
modest.
complain.
You're so modest.
It is. It's loads of fun. And same thing with ModPo. So for ModPo, the 6 years, it's interesting, why we really, why I stuck with it and everything like that is it was a very familiar feeling. For me, what it did is it conjured when I was a child and I was growing up at the neighborhood pool and they'd have swimming lessons for free, right? I mean, and all the kids could go and anybody could take them and all that kind of stuff. And through the course of the years, you'd have the final, level of swimming lessons, and all the kids that really liked to do it just kept on doing it. So, like I did the swimmers, the highest level, for 6 years, and a lot of the kids after that then became, lifeguards and kind of carried on. But what was nice about it is that kind of like with ModPo, is the lessons were the same each year, but the dynamics are always changing. There's always new kids, there's old familiar kids, there's the interactions with every year. And I think that's what you've been doing with this. It's a fantastic job.
Thank you, Anthony. And if we play out the analogy further, we realize that all those kids, this was a public pool. Penn is a private pool that decided in this instance to become de facto public. And there's a whole lot of kids wandering around who are now adults wandering around this world, not drowning. And if you push the analogy too far, it'll make us weep, so we're not going to do that. We have T?
Yes, we got her back.
Okay, great. Yay. T? Hey, T.
Hey, guys.
Hey, T, You are persistent. You called again. Thank you.
Yes, that's how much I love you guys.
Oh, what time is it there? 1 a.m.?
Just past midnight.
Oh, not bad. So you're 13 hours ahead.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad. All right. Manila. T, do you have final words for us this year?
Well, I've been writing a lot lately and been thinking about how words work. And I was thinking, well, in my language, a poem is called tula, and then a star is called tala, and then to write is tala. So there's just a change of one letter from word to word, but it makes a world of difference. I am thinking how these slight changes can wake us into thinking deeply about the way we use words, and I guess the spaces between them where we can just exist. So for me, a big part of ModPo is all about waking up. I think in 2012, you wake me back into living my life, and it's, 5-6 years later, and here I am. So, yeah, I am glad to stay, Al. You mentioned this before, that love is a form of staying. So I am glad to stay. And thank you so much for everything you do. Yeah, thank you. Salamat. And thanks to everyone who's there. Jason, Joe, Erica, Molly, Amber Rose, Allison, Eric. Chris and Zach are awesome as always. Anna, it's lovely to hear your voice. Congrats to Gabe for his new book.
Thank you.
Lily and I have a date in the future eating some dim sum.
It's going to happen.
When are you going to Manila, Lily?
I'm waiting for my invitation.
Baby, thanks for the lovely, lovely conversations we've had. It's a pleasure. Lastly, to Mandana and Robin, who have been great, great friends through the years. So, yeah, thanks for everyone, and watch out for Slowpo.
T, you're the best. Thank you for being up when we're all sleeping. Thank you for this year, fortunately not, but enduring all those crazy storms that your crazy island nation gets. Thanks for sticking with us. You probably have a lot of other stuff that you need to do, and you make ModPo. So, thank you. Bye,
Thank
T.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that's amazing. Anna's got tissues. Allie has arrived. Hey, Allie, another work day for Allie. Are you ready to do a final? Are you ready to do a final word, and then you can get back to your job so they don't fire you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just want to say that it fills me with so much warmth. Be furtively joining you guys this morning.
Are you in like the closet or something, or the bathroom, or
an empty office?
Okay.
So it's not super furtive, but I'll take what I can get. I think that this might kind of be an echo of what's already been said. I mean, as the years go on in ModPo, and as we go through and approach the same poems again and again, or of looking at new material, it just becomes more apparent to me that these years of returning, a measure of your own growth and your own place in terms of how you in these poems. But also more importantly, I think it's a measure of your openness to other perspectives and angles. And that's something that has only gotten richer and deeper as the years have gone on. I think one of the #1 reasons to stay and keep coming back. So I'm so grateful to have this place to come for 10 weeks in the fall and put me back in a real rigorous and caring, thoughtful environment. It's been great.
Allie Castleman, everybody. Allie, can you stay 2 more minutes before you have to go back?
Yeah.
Would you? Do you have a computer in front of you? Obviously, you do, because we can see you. Duh, Al, you're such an idiot. Would you Google Some Trees by John Ashbery, and the two of us will read it aloud together in honor of John and in honor of our tree dance 6 years ago? Okay, we have. So hold on, Allie. We have someone on the phone. Then Allie and I are going to do the tree dance, and then we'll go to Dimitri. So.
We've got Mama Pope calling us from Auburn, California.
Yeah. I'm so glad.
Me too.
Hello, Joyce.
Hello.
Hi.
My final words. She lay as if at play, her life had leaped away, intending to return, but not too soon. How about that for my love of Emily Dickinson?
It's very good. Very Dickinsonian. But, you know, Tender Meatballs is Stein. You're finally getting Stein, and here you go back to Dickinson.
Well, you did it to me. I
did it to you, yeah. By the way, I have four of the meatballs left in my freezer.
Oh, my gosh. They're like treasures. Well, maybe the first of the year when the snow is really cold, we'll send those frozen meatballs again.
Oh, I wasn't fishing for that, but that sounds really good.
But my love to everyone that's made ModPo possible all over this many years, and I sent a little Facebook thing, but I just want to say that throughout my life, all the years that I've never enjoyed poetry is now part of my life, and just being able to have written so many poems that I never even thought about, and now I realize that someday I'll do a close read on my own poems.
Yes, good. That's fantastic. Let me just say before we check out that one of the great things about ModPo for me personally is that, I mean, let's just face it, Joyce, you're on the other coast, you're in Sacramento or near Sacramento, I'm here, I'm in the Ivory Tower, et cetera, et cetera. The chances that we would not simply that we would encounter each other, but that we would become friends, there's, if I may, a generational difference, there's all kinds of differences between us, and I really feel like we're friends, and you came all the way across the country to do your TLC for us, and I'm really glad that ModPo exists so that we can connect, you and I and a lot of other people, and it's just, it's what life should be about, which is these incredible chance encounters.
My heart to all of you, and I love you all dearly.
Thank you. Mama Pope, everybody.
So, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So, Allie, you ready? So, this poem by the late John Ashbery was written when he was very, very, very young at Harvard, and I think the best reading of this poem, one of the best readings of this poem, is a young queer Rochester-born kind of a local yokel from Rochester getting to Harvard with maintaining his hick ways, quote unquote, to quote him, but then struggling to figure out how he could make connections and relationships. That this is what the poem's about. And so, and Allie and I, because you were sitting to my left, we back 6 years ago demonstrated the connection. Right? Are you ready? Okay, here we go. The two of us ready? Right? Okay, here we go. These are amazing. Allie, you gonna read? These are amazing.
Can I read with you?
Yeah, why not?
It won't be in sync.
These are amazing. Each joining a neighbor. Oh, there's a delay. There's a delay. Okay, let's all. So that's all right. You do the tree dance. We're all going to do it together, okay? And some of us from memory. All right. Allison's ready. Sort of like this, right? Okay. These are amazing. Each joining a neighbor, as though speech were a still performance, arranging by chance to meet as far this morning from the world as agreeing with it. You and I are suddenly what the trees try to tell us we are, that their merely being there means something, that soon we may touch, love, explain. And glad not to have invented such comeliness, we are surrounded. A silence already filled with noises, a canvas on which emerges a chorus of smiles, a winter morning, placed in a puzzling light and moving. Our days put on such reticence, these accents seem their own defense. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, John Ashbery.
Allie, your hair looks great today. I really like the bob.
All right. Well, you're dismissed and can go back to work. Thanks, Allie. But stay if you can. You're not dismissed. Stay if you can. Right? But I'm sure Amazon singles or Kindle singles will fall apart without you. Okay. So I promised we were going to go next to Dimitri. Dimitri, thank you again for coming all the way from Greece. I hope you had some business in New York that's interesting and that you didn't come just to see us.
I came for yes. I came for just I think just walking around in New York and meeting some friends.
Did you say just walking around New York?
Yes, exactly. meeting some friends there, and I'm staying for 1 week. It was a great opportunity to come here. What I would like to say was that the way I found about ModPo was while I was searching material for John Ashbery, and the first time I came across ModPo was back then, and except from the poetry of John Ashbery, which ModPo helped me a real lot to read him and enjoy his poetry better than I did before. I also learned things about poets I didn't knew, and more things about some poets I maybe knew some things about them. And I was very happy that I came across ModPo and being part of it as long as to the extent I can. And thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Talk about arranging by chance to meet as far this morning from the world as agreeing with it. That's just perfect. That's so really cool. Okay, so we are going to go first to a quote from someone from the Final Words thread and then to Maria. So we need the mic to Maria. So I just want to quote two women from the ModPo Final Words thread. First to Dina Perot. Within this MOOC, you have created an open, inclusive environment for conversations larger and louder than any classroom could ever accommodate. That is actually true. I don't know about the loudness of the forums, but loudness in effect. The line between student and teacher is blurred, and I feel that we have all been invited to become co-creators in this poetic dialogue. This, for me, is truly exciting and is what, after lurking around ModPo for 3 separate years, has finally persuaded me to open up and share my own thoughts and appreciations. It does take a few years before you get the nerve sometimes. And Laura D. Bernardi, who's a new CTA, writes about Anna Strong Safford. Okay. I owe a particular debt and thanks to Anna, who works tirelessly behind the scenes at ModPo and whose infectious goodwill made of this my first year as a mentor such a smooth ride. Anna answered every question I put to her promptly and with so friendly and welcoming a manner that I felt her considerable charm floating about in the digital ether, despite never having had the pleasure of meeting her. So thank you to Laura for your work as a CTA, but also a special thank you to Anna, who is the coordinator of ModPo. And it's a little premature to announce this, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Giving you right now is
I know.
Are we okay?
Jinx it.
I'm not gonna jinx it. It's in the works. So I am coordinating with the LPS school, which is the Liberal and Professional Studies School Division of the University of Pennsylvania, between Writers House and LPS, to create a full-time position which will be a full-time position as a lecturer instructing ModPo 3 times a year as an LPS course and coordinating ModPo continuously into the future. You know, I have a happy list. I didn't know if I told you that, Anna. I have a happy list. It's like, because work is really hard and there are things going on in the family, and I have my happy list. And I got a few things on my happy list, like my mother's coming for Thanksgiving, which is today, and other things, right? And you're on my happy list. Or to be specific, the idea that we could work together and that you would be full-time doing this, so that although I'm sure the university will figure out a way to exploit you, at least there will be like a real position if it comes through. We're still waiting for it to come through. And it actually, probably more than anything else, augurs well for the future and ongoingness of ModPo, that you will be teaching it through LPS, and therefore the School of Arts and Sciences will now have committed itself to ModPo as a real resource. Right now, ModPo is way, way, way off in the area of boutique, weird, extra at the University of Pennsylvania, but this actually puts it in the center of something that LPS is doing. So, yay. Anna Strong-Safford. Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. Okay. All right, so we're going to go to Maria, who has a mic, I think.
Okay.
Hi, Maria.
Hello. So this is my first time doing final comments, and although I did participate in ModPo one other year, but I wasn't involved in the final comments, and was thinking, how am I going to sum up this incredible experience, or what can I possibly say after all of this? I thought, well, maybe the mesostic generator could help me. So I went to the dictionary and I came up with a list of adjectives that I felt described the program, and I put those in with their definitions, and then I put modern and contemporary poetry as the spine, and it didn't work out at all. It didn't work out at all. So anyway, I'll be quick here. I decided the best thing to do is to just use a few words that I had to come up with on my own, and I wanted to say that this has just been an incredibly generous gift to be able, a gift to me from you all and from the University of Pennsylvania to be able to participate in this. It's been inspirational, thought-provoking, eye-opening. I feel that it's a great resource for the community, and I really, really appreciate the focus on writing and experimenting with writing, and I hope to participate for many years. So
Yay,
thank you
Maria.
all very much.
Fantastic. Great. Do we have somebody on the phone? No? Okay, good.
Just want to say hi. It was Mandana.
Ms. Mandana. Oh, she's so, suddenly gets shy, Okay. So we're going to go, in a minute, we're going to Lily and then Jason. And before we get there, I just want to quote Val Moulton, whom we met finally in London. And Val has been part of ModPo since almost the beginning, if not the beginning, and has had a lot of health problems, so that her participation was difficult some years. And Val hung out with us and then went out to the pub with us and was hoisting a few, and it was great. And Val says, thank you for a course that becomes more amazing each year. This is so much of interest here, and there's so much of interest here, and it keeps growing. The high point of the last few years for me was the meetup in London. That was an unforgettable experience. It was a delight to meet everyone, and I loved the poems that were discussed. And it was just such a treat, Val, to meet you. Okay, so I think Lily and then Jason. Lily Applebaum.
That's me. When Al, when you said that this was our 6th time doing ModPo, really, I hadn't thought about it until we got here, and that was like very. It's great. I just can't believe that it's been 6 different years. And this go around of ModPo was hard for me because I have been trying to limit the amount of time I've been spending on the internet, because it's just been like, it's like, I wake up in the morning and read Twitter for like an hour to catch up with all the news, and then I'm like, oh, I don't want to go look at the internet more than that after that. So I've been doing a lot of reading of discussion forums, but not a lot of commenting on them, which has been a really awesome experience for me, just to like to practice the more like listening part of the conversation than the actual like talking part of the conversation. So I've really been enjoying that aspect of ModPo. That's been like a way to, I appreciate that it's a space where just listening can be actively participating, because there are a lot of spaces in our lives where that's like not the case. And so I've been really appreciating that. But then also I've been involved in a couple of different like adult education like ventures this fall semester, and have been really appreciating how much the idea of ModPo as just coming together, the coming together and creating a space to closely examine a text, or to actually counterintuitively by like closely examining the way that we talk or write, giving ourselves freedom to maybe, if you're a new English learner, not use the exact right verb tense, but to explore more openly what that would mean, or tell a story creatively because you don't know X vocabulary or how to say something correctly. And it's been really fun giving that like attitude as like to the English learning students that I work with, as like don't be so worried. Like there can be wiggle room between like needing to speak exactly the right word every time and still conveying meaning. Like they're so excited to be able to convey meaning without necessarily knowing everything that they're supposed to be saying. So I appreciate ModPo for helping bring that like concept of space convening into that educational venture for me.
I think one of the things you're saying, Lily, is that there is a kind of iterative, mutually reinforcing pedagogical thing. You're learning some stuff that you're carrying from ModPo and Writer's House to the ESL situation, and then also bringing some back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's just, like we're not like talking about ModPo poems in our class. Like that would be too difficult. But it's more just like the concept of creating space through ModPo of like, it's not that anything goes. Like you can have any idea about the poem and it doesn't matter because that's not it. But it's like if you're putting work into making this meaning or making this interpretation, even if it's not like conforming to one specific idea of how it should be, we're going to work together on it to understand each other. So
that whole thing about openness to grammatical exploration and inventiveness is in both places. And I think that's really great. Yeah. So we're going to go to Jason. Thank you. Lily Applebaum, everybody. Yeah. We're going to go back to Jason in a second, but I just want to quote Lori Lowenstein. I've never been able to pronounce her name right. Lowenstein in Los Angeles, who goes to Molly's meetups. And this follows nicely from what Lily just said about listening. I've been trying to explain to myself and to others what makes ModPo special, and having trouble. But then, at one of the LA meetups, I realized it. When I attended this year's LA meetup, around that literal table, drinking coffee, I found that what I had to say about the poems that we close read was heard, responded to. What I had to say mattered. And I found that what those around me had to say was equally, if not more critical to my own journey through the poems. It opened my eyes and my mind to so many more possibilities. Yay to meetups. Jason, hi, yeah, he's applauding. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Hey, final thought?
Yeah, I have a picture that I wanted to show.
Hold on. No, up a little. That's good. Okay, now you were going to explain this?
It's the movements. Yeah, it's the movements.
Don't move it around too much. Okay. All right, what's happening?
Okay.
Strap in, everybody.
By the way, you're like a natural film director. You pick the weirdest angles.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to read the text that's around this image from Finn Family Moomin Troll by Tove Jansson, who is a great writer for children and adults. Will somebody please tell me what all this is about, the Hemulin asked plaintively. It was because I hid in the hat that I was changed, explained Moomintroll. We've worked it out, and now we're going to make sure by seeing if the antlion will turn into something else as well. But he could turn into absolutely anything, squeaked Sniff. He could turn into something still more dangerous than an antlion and gobble us all up in a minute. They stood in terrified silence, looking at the pot and listening to the muffled sounds coming from inside. Oh, said the Snork Maiden, turning rather pale. But Snufkin suggested they should all hide under the table while the change took place, and put a big book on top of the hat. You must always take risks when experimenting. Tip him in now at once. Sniff scrambled under the table while Moomintroll, Snufkin, and the Hemulin held the jar over the hobgoblin's hat, and the Snork gingerly unscrewed the lid. In a cloud of sand, the antlion tumbled out, and quick as lightning, the Snork popped a dictionary of outlandish words on top. They all dived under the table and waited. At first, nothing happened. They peeped out from under the tablecloth, getting more and more agitated. Still, there was no change. Now, the dictionary was curling up more and more. The pages began to look like withered leaves, and between them, the outlandish words came out and began crawling around on the floor. Goodness gracious me, said Moomintroll. And then some more happens. And then the water had stopped flowing and now filled the veranda like a lake, and the whole ceiling was covered with outlandish words. And I just think that, so here are the outlandish words.
Left.
No, it would be that's no, the other way, Gabe. You got it backwards.
Right. To your
no,
right,
to your right. There you go.
Okay,
all right, stop. Thank you, Jason.
So I like to think of that as both what we do to words in this course, and what we do to each other, and the way in which a poem is a place that gathers readers. The readers gather the words into their minds, and then the minds, above all, in this MOOC, we are allowed to mingle our words together like the tree branches touching, and by doing so, transform place itself. Not only virtual places where we meet here now, but when the webcast ends, we return to our rooms and our streets and our trees and our lives, and all of those words are renewed and made strange, and allow us to inhabit place and language in a way that we couldn't before, and in a way that we made together.
Thank you, Jason. Jason, everybody. Jason Soska. Yay. Okay, so we're wrapping up. I'm going to invite Zach and Chris to give a final word. Whether they decline or not, they're going to be invited, and we're going to insist a little bit on it. Then Anna, Davey, and me, and we will be wrapping up and having pizza here. I hope you're planning to have pizza there. Tea, I realize it's getting toward 1 in the morning, but pizza's fine. Okay, Zach Cardner, are you going to do a final word?
I am.
Well,
yeah.
do you want to?
Yeah.
How
it's
about,
hard to juggle this. Okay. This is weird. I can hear myself. Okay. So
there he is. Oh.
Yeah. So as I lay in a sick and stupor last night in bed, staring at the ceiling, I thought to myself, Al's going to ask me to do a final word. And that was my last thought, and I fell asleep. So I don't actually have a final word. So I'll just say that me and Anna right now are plugging through the certificate requests, and we'll get those out in a couple of weeks to those who are interested. And in the meantime, go back and watch some of our old webcasts. It's really amazing to see how they've improved over the years. I'm not too modest to say that.
You mean technically, right?
Technically, but also
you don't mean in any other way.
Oh yeah, of course I know the content. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? The content's.
I think
it's
they're
kinda
always
better.
brilliant.
That's a diplomatic answer. But yeah, so go back and watch them. Watch the series especially, and yeah, come back next year.
Thank you, Zach Gardner, everybody. All right. Chris Martin, turn Anna's mic toward you. Come on. Oh, portable mic.
Yeah,
Got to use the equipment.
This is fancier technology, and as a tech guy, I'd rather use that, So I remember, I guess in early 2012, walking past Al in the hallway randomly, and he looks at me and he's beaming, and he's like,
Am I Al in the situation?
"Oh no, I was just looking at you." Al comes walking by beaming, and he says, we're going to do this crazy thing in the fall. It's Coursera, and it's a new thing, and we're going to do it, and it's going to be great. And I could see how happy Al was, and I was just terrified as a tech guy, because when Al is smiling and really excited about something, you're like, what does this mean? So he didn't really give me any details. So after a couple sleepless nights, he finally informed me, we're going to do ModPo, and that was the formation of ModPo and the very early days. And we worked on it all summer, and it was really cool to be a part of. And when I tell people what I do at Penn, I do all the technology around here, but the thing that I tell everybody about first is that I work on ModPo. When I think of technology, like, what cooler thing could you do with technology than unite people from around the world and form this kind of community? So,
Chris. Zach, Chris's final word made us cry. Yours didn't. Got to work on that. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris and Zach. What Chris and Zach do to make the webcasts possible is really very unique. I mean, they give, as I said before, they give presentations at conferences, and people are aghast. How do you do that? How do you do that? And I'd like to make another announcement, which is that I hope in the summer of 2018, but possibly in the summer of 2019, let's hope the summer of 2018, the Arts Cafe, this room will be completely and utterly renovated, though it'll look the same when you come back with the crappy old chairs, and everything will be the same, except we're going to completely renovate it. So lighting, acoustics, the airflow, the air handling, the HVAC, and we're going to be, we hope, extending this room a little bit to get more people in it. But most of all, the 2-hour setup for the webcast might be maybe 25 minutes, let's hope, because these guys are leading the way in terms of the tech. So that is really cool. Thank you both. And also, when we go on the road in early October every year, they have to lug all this equipment. I mean, doing a live webcast in London, it's the most counterintuitive thing you could possibly imagine doing. Like, why don't they just stay here and do it? Because most people are not watching it. They're not in London. Anyway, that is a really difficult thing to do, and they pull it off. So next year in early October, we're weighing, the team will get together, and we're weighing whether we should do a Montreal-Toronto thing or whether we should do a Dublin-Glasgow, right? Edinburgh, a Dublin-Edinburgh thing. So we're not really sure. One is a little less expensive than the other, I have to say. But anyway, okay. Anna Strong-Safford, your turn, final words.
So I had this whole thing I was going to read, but I think in the interest of time and of pizza, I'll just say that, as I am every year, but maybe especially this year, I'm just incredibly grateful to each and every one of the people who just like take the leap and write a post in the forums for the first time because they just want to weigh in, to the teaching assistants who come back every single year and are so giving of their time and their energy to do this, to the community TAs, as Al said, but it bears repeating, without whom we would not be able to do this at all. To Al for making the space possible in the first place, and to Chris and Zach for enabling the community to exist in the way that it does. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Anna Safford. Okay. So we're going to turn to Davey, and then I'll have a final word. But in meantime, Demetrius, on the assumption that traveling back to Greece, you would prefer a smaller book to a larger one, I have Joe Massey's Illocality for you to take home. Yeah? Okay. And Charles Niddle, tell me about Emily Dickinson. Tell me. Without a mic, nod, yes. Emily Dickinson. Okay, so Charles Niddle gets the Emily Dickinson collected poems. You got to read them all? Okay, all right. So, Davey, final words. Davey. All right, you're on. This is terrible. What are we doing?
Okay. This is really sweet. So I have two things to say, and they're both in that like sweet, serious register. I feel like I have two ModPo selves, and one is like academic Davey, and one is like feelings Davey.
There's a feelings Davey?
Oh yeah, I'm like made of feelings.
I want to hang out with the feelings Davey.
I'm mostly feelings.
Okay.
And so I'm like really on the feeling side today. So two things. One, an enormous gift of ModPo that I feel all the time is getting to hang out with so many good teachers. That ModPo is just a space that attracts amazing teachers. And that is really, that's something that I mean in a lot of ways. I mean that in terms of watching the other TAs in the forums, this is a thing that like I feel like I don't say enough, is that I learn a ton about how to interact with students from watching Lily interact with students. Lily, you might be more excited about working with your Tuesday night ESL class than anyone I've ever met to work with their students, which is so exciting to me. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, it's possible to, every time you go into a classroom, fall in love with being there. And I feel that way about you. You know that. I feel that way about Anna in an enormous way. I feel that way about you, Gabe. I feel that way about you, Al. And I know I'm not alone in that feeling. And that's a really beautiful thing to be like, oh, wow, I'm in a room with great teachers. I'm in a forum with amazing teachers. I also mean that in terms of who takes ModPo. That we really attract people who want to be teachers, who have been teachers. There are so many amazing retired teachers in the forums. There are folks teaching each other all of the time. And to be part of that space is an amazing thing. And so that's the first thing. The other thing is that, Gabe, I feel like when you say things, I like think about them for a really long time, like an unusually long time. And a conversation that you and I have had now over the past 2 years in a kind of back and forth, intermittent kind of way, and I think that you and I are on the same side of this, but I still keep thinking about it, is whether or not poems like do any activist or radical work. And you and I are both kind of like, no, but. And I think my relationship to that this year has changed a little bit, and I still don't think that the poem is the site of resistance, but something that's really important to me in ModPo that I've kind of articulated to myself this year is that something that poems do is that they produce a relationship to fracture that's okay and that's useful. And I think that this has been a year in which, in my office hours, lots of people have been talking about mental health, about recovery from illness, about serious forms of loss. And an experimental poem is a space in which you can watch things come apart and believe that that process is useful and okay and have a set of tools to deal with it. And I think that like that's, for me, one of the biggest reasons why it's worth teaching people to read experimental poetry is that like, here's a set of tools to deal with things that where you can't find all of the pieces, where they're gonna get taken away from you, where they're not supposed to fit together perfectly, where you will always be wrong. And to be in a community of people who want to be really generous about their relationships to things that come apart feels like a huge gift. So thank you all for that.
When they decide to give you the PhD, the doctoral degree, we're all going to go. We don't usually go to those graduations, but we're going to go. And if they can, they're definitely going to give the PhD to academic Davey. But if there's a chance that they will have given the PhD to Feelings Davey, then we will have made a step forward in academia. Wow. Yes. Here's to Feelings Davey. And here's to academic Davey, too. Yeah. Okay, my final thought is divided into two. Shout out to Sid Corman and then a shout out to Emily Dickinson. The Sid Corman shout out is a kind of triangulated way to shout out both to Joe, who's I don't know if Joe's still there. No, okay. So shout out to Joe for insisting on, I mean, the young, shall we say, wayward, and maybe, shall we say, angry Joe reached out to Corman, and Corman took Joe under wing and in his final years and really helped make Joe the really great poet that he is. And also to T, who always goes back to this idea. T is very present, but she's also a world away and has become a friend even though we've never met T in person. And T always takes that Cormanian idea of being here and being now, and T is very savvy about the tech, so she's really adept at it. But the existential concept of T being with us here is kind of an amazing thing. So T writes this time recently, like a couple days ago, I came for the poetry, I stayed for everything else, and will continue to stay as long as I can, as long as this is here, as long as you are here. It's a powerful you. And in honor of that, I'm just going to play the 20 seconds of Sid Corman reciting that poem, which is anthemic, and is also about detaining us and keeping us from going, which is always a good thing to remember at the end of an intense session. Here's Sid.
All right. It isn't for want of something to say, something to tell you, something you should know, but to detain you, keep you from going, feeling myself here as long as you are, as long as you are.
I love how he stretches out that R. It makes it feel like he never really wants to stop saying R, the verb to be. Second shout out is to Emily Dickinson. So a few days, it's kind of odd to be shouting out to Emily. Hey, Emily! Yeah, feelings, Emily. A few days after Final Words, last year my father passed away very suddenly at 90 plus on Thanksgiving Day. So on Thanksgiving Day, we have a yahrzeit candle, and we have a bottle of wine that he and I bought in France that we never got to open, and we're just going to open that sucker in memory of Dad. He was a World War II vet in the Navy and then got on the GI Bill, got to go to college. Nobody in his family was going to college. Very poor family in Brooklyn, Jewish immigrant family. And he went to North Carolina State, and as some of you have heard before, he decided not to major in something that would be useful, but in ceramics. Ceramics. Now, this is a basically self-taught person, not educated at NC State, one of 3 Jews at NC State, completely discriminated against the entire time, anti-Semitism rife, majoring in ceramics. He came back. He got married, met my mom, who's arriving today for this kind of memorial Thanksgiving weekend that we're going to have. And then they moved to the suburbs, and he had a kind of submerged intellectual life, and he had all kinds of hobbies that he was interested in. And he gave them to me and my sisters, these ideas. I wasn't literarily trained in any way. He found that I was interested in literature, and he kept giving me things. And he gave me a book of Emily Dickinson's poems in the little cutesy things that you would get for like Hanukkah, like a tiny little thing with a ribbon. And I read Emily Dickinson when I was, 9 years old or something like that. And here's this basically uneducated child of immigrants, World War II vet, GI Bill, ceramics guy who was making his way through the week, and the most amazing parent possible. Never heard him raise his voice once in all the years, 60 plus years that I knew him. And so the other thing about Dickinson that he taught me was that she seemed to be the kind of person who would just write everything everywhere. And he sort of had scraps of paper himself. Not a poet, but he would write thoughts and notes down. I only discovered these as he and I were cleaning out his office before the family moved, his family, he and my mom, moved from New Jersey, where they'd been all those years, to Florida. Oh, boy. But that I thought was a mistake, except that it allowed the two of us to spend 2 days in his office looking through drawers where there was just scraps of gorgeous nothings of my dad. Very unpretentious, gorgeous nothings. Well, the Dickinson people, amazing editors, brought out Emily Dickinson, The Gorgeous Nothings, which reminded us of the essence of this very constrained and very powerful person who put constraint and power together. And Emily Dickinson just wrote on little tiny scraps of paper and envelopes. Just couldn't help herself. She had to do that. And with no hope that any of that would become published poetry. So it's a little odd to think of Sam Filreis, Polish immigrant, family lost in the Holocaust, GI Bill, basically uneducated, in the realm of Emily Dickinson, but he gave this to me. He definitely gave this to me. The idea that the way you bring value to your life is just to find little scraps of moments, little scraps of time, just putting things away. And so here's an Emily Dickinson, little tiny scratch. It's like a little, Zach, look at that thing. That's just a little envelope. Thank God for the people at Amherst or wherever, Harvard, Susan Howe. People took this seriously. And here's what this says. This is for you, Dad. In this short life that only merely lasts an hour, how much, how little is within our power. Signing off, ModPo 17. We'll see you in SlowPo. You're all the best. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Please give yourselves a big hand.